recording. Okay, welcome to my third interview through the New Eden universe. And today we have, what was your name?
Game name?
Yeah, game name.
I'm known primarily as LevWiz for many, many years. My main character that plays is Dorfsork and an assorted cast of others.
Alright, I will call you Dwarf Sork then, because I like that
All
name
right.
and it's hilarious. Alright, this is Old Ma, the leader of Dwarf Sork's Alliance. Would you like to introduce yourself for a minute?
That's absolutely. I'm over. I run Intrepid Crossing. It's one of the fourth or fifth oldest alliances that's still active in the game. My main corp is Arcount, and I've been playing the game for about 20 years now.
Nice. Alright, so our main focus is PvP for our podcasts. We love hearing stories of when people blow each other up and get into huge battles and stuff like that. So, do you mind starting there?
The biggest battle I was ever in was part of World War B when the entire game took on goons. And I was physically sitting in the goons' home system in my Eagle when over 200 dreads tried to enter the system at once. None of them were rendered, so they all got blown up. And while that was going on, I got 40 kills on my Eagle. That was my
Nice.
biggest fight.
40 kills, and do you mind if we talk about your ailment?
No, not at all.
Alright. So, this guy got 40 kills in one day while being blind. Like, do you want to explain more about what that is to our viewers?
We have a motto in IRC. It's so easy, a blind man can do it. So I was born with retinitis pigmentosa, which is a long, slow loss of your peripheral vision, your night vision, your ability to identify colors, and your ability to discern objects with less than perfect lighting. By the time it goes to its full course, you go to full blackout where you don't see anything. And I am at the 99% blackout stage right now.
I am so sorry to hear that. But it seems like you're still being able to kick ass and chew bubblegum even though being blind, you know? So, uh,
Well, well, I had the advantage of watching my dad go through it because it's hereditary. So I made different life choices. I wound up having a great job. I made lots of money and I retired very early, which meant that all I had left in life to do was play. Oh, and raise kids.
ah, uh, nice. So, tell me a little bit about your alliance and what you guys do.
Well, Oma mentioned we're the fourth or fifth oldest active alliance in the game. This alliance has been one of the mega alliances, and we have also been one of the super small alliances. We have been either red or blue to every major alliance in the game, and most of us are builders. Most of us are industrialists, but industrialists cannot hold their space unless they can fight. So by default, we are also PvP pilots. So we do a little bit of everything.
Right. That's what I'm trying to train my boys in nullsec as well. I want to do it all, like you do, and stuff like that. So, like, we have similar backgrounds, just similar ideas. I'm just a lot newer than you are at this, so I respect what you're doing, and I hope to see you guys around. So,
Yeah. If we just took people that are currently in our lobby and this channel and our backyard channel, there's over 100 years of experience in the game.
no, All right. So, what are some controversial things that you guys think about when you play Eve?
Controversial.
Yes,
You mean stuff CCP does that we think is controversial or
stuff that
gameplay?
people do in the game world that's controversial, kind of thing. Like gamers,
Okay.
for instance, or people who go after minors and belts and stuff like that, things like that. People who, try to disrupt the trade routes and things like that by
Well,
going pirates and stuff like that.
well, CCP will tell you that all of those are legitimate gameplay. My personal take on it is I've got over 1,600 kills and less than a dozen of them are industrials. So my personal thing is I want to shoot things that can shoot back.
Ah,
But for some people, any target will do. I don't like what I call malicious gate camps. Everybody knows where asset safety is. So sitting on the out gate with a bunch of smart bombing uh, battleships, to me, is lazy gameplay. It's like, come on, guys, if you want to fight, go get a fight.
it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah, only you don't even have to shoot.
uh,
It, it,
Go ahead, old
it's
Donna.
not so much what CCP did, but some of the mega alliances make it difficult because I like the 20 on 20, but nobody wants to do that. What they want to do is, oh, you got 20, they'll go get 50 and they just kill all your ships. And it's like, that's not as much fun as us flying around shooting at you, pick off one, shoot one. It's just more fun when you can do small gang alliance fights.
And we will agree to such fights with our nearby enemies. Say, hey, yeah, if you're going to hang out here, we'll go 5 on 5. Just don't go 5 on 5 and then turn it into 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then hot drop.
Well,
In other words,
that's a huge problem I see. Sorry for interrupting if I did. Uh,
well, but that is my big pet peeve.
yeah, that's something that just can't be avoided a lot of the times, though. Like wormhole space, I heard that they're a lot more respectful. They'll try to accommodate a fair fight, kind of thing. But uh, it just depends on the corporation, how bloodthirsty somebody is, things like that. So,
Olma has taught from the very beginning of AWCO, integrity is the only capital you have in the game. So when you tell somebody, I'm going to show up with 20 drakes, then show up with 20 drakes.
gotcha.
Don't show up with 20 drakes and an Arazu ready to bring in a Hadred.
Alright, so we're almost ready to go to our interview section.
Okay.
So, what's the biggest battle you've been in?
Well, the one I mentioned, the World War B fight in goon
Oh, right.
space.
Alright. We don't have to talk about that again. Alright.
But it's interesting to mention why that battle failed.
Alright. Well, if you want to talk about it more, that's
Just
wonderful.
briefly, CCP, in a quiet sort of way, said that you can only handle 6,000 entities in a single system, and then the server crashes. So the enemy, in this case the goons, used that to their advantage by undocking everything they had, putting all their drones into space, dropping cargo containers everywhere, so that the space was so full of people that anybody that tried to warp in or come in on a conduit would be stuck. But
Oh.
that was my biggest battle. There were 6,500 entities on the field at the time.
So they overloaded the handshake for the server crossings, pretty much.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
All right. Having said that, let's move on.
Alright. So, what do you guys think about drugs in EVE Online? Like the in-game version of the drugs, not the actual usage of them outside of it.
Olma tells us you better have drugs in your cargo hold if you're going to a fight,
Because the enemy does.
because the enemy does.
Well, I do got a guy that mass produces stuff for you, so I might be able to drop him a line for you.
Oh,
Absolutely.
we make our own.
Oh, you make your own? All right. So, anything you guys want to talk about at this point?
So one of the things that I look at every single day because I'm in recruiting mode is how do we get new players to come into the game and stay in the game?
You are not the only person that has asked that or said that. I am happy to discuss that. So let's talk about that.
Well, like Dolph just said, we take new people and we'll take them out moon mining. We'll show them how to do it. We'll give them the ship, anything they can. And we always say there's no stupid question because we want everybody to understand how the game is played. But you got to be careful because you always have to have local open. You got to have your scouts out. You just don't go like some people. And, oh, let me put the Rockwell out in this system that I have no scouts out for no jumps. Okay, it just
Right.
doesn't work.
Not to mention D scan, you know. That's
Yes.
another major thing that.
Although the fallacy with DScan is if you see them on DScan, it's already too late.
Right.
So part of what CCP has done is they've improved the tutorial experience. They've improved the career agent experience. But they've done a terrible job of directing new players into corps where they can get help. Instead, they wind up in corps that suck up hundreds of newbies and just abuse them or forget them.
Right.
So our approach is find somebody that seems eager enough, find out what he thinks he wants to do in game and where he got the information from, and then help him down a path where he stays focused in his training and doesn't try to do everything because you can't be good at everything in a month.
Right. And that's.
We also
Oh, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
We also dispel the myth that they can earn enough money in high sec as an alpha to flex their account.
Right.
We tell them that you can make money and make more money in nullsec than you can in high sec, but it takes a lot of work to make a couple of billion ISK unless you want to put time in. And then you'd have to ask, is it a job or is it a game?
Right.
So in my case, I pay for my accounts. That way I don't feel like I have to earn ISK.
That's how I do it as well. I pay my accounts as well as buy ISK because I want to have fun in this game. You know, I don't want to deal with jobs and stuff like that. Although you do need to do some things to keep things active and fun. You know, so.
Now, Oma and I do have a job. He has a real one in real life. And my job is doing things for the Alliance for about 8 hours a day.
Ah.
And without him, half the stuff wouldn't get done. He is a workhorse. He keeps things moving. He recruits. He runs mining ops. He's even led PvP fleets being blind, which I still haven't figured out how he did that.
I just tell them what to do. I can't give them specific information.
Ah.
And in a fleet, I'm useless unless somebody is broadcasting targets. If they broadcast, I can key off the broadcast and I can shoot something. If they don't broadcast, I have no way of knowing what to shoot.
Gotcha. So you need like a pointer or something like that.
Yep.
Gotcha.
So we always try to broadcast 1 or 2 targets for him. And it's rough because if you're FC and you can't, it's hard to broadcast and run the fleet, do everything else. So you always appoint somebody just broadcast for him.
All right. So, what do you think they can change with the game's recruitment strategies and stuff like that? Uh, I know they
Well,
keep raising their prices. A lot of players are upset with that. So, what do you think they should
they,
do in order to
well,
mitigate that?
they need to make it so that the new players, at least for the first, say, 10, 20 million skill points, train faster. Okay? Give them some kind of way. I know they have all the skill objectives, but they can't make the money for all of that. They need just to get to where they have the basic skills quicker so that they can at least fly basic ships around.
They used to have that in skill training, where when you were new to the game, you took a percentage less time to train a skill than somebody who'd been in the game longer. That would be helpful. The
They
second
do.
thing they the
Sorry.
second thing they could do is to get somebody to convert from alpha to omega when they're still not even sure they're going to enjoy the game. To pay $20 for their first month is ridiculous. And the only way to get the price down is to buy a multi-month option. What they need to do is somebody who's literally converting from alpha to omega for the first time should get a 3-month pack that's only available to new bro alphas and have it be very reasonably priced. Because once somebody's been in the game for 3 months, they're not going away.
All right. Anything
It
else
is
you
by
want?
far the most immersive game that you can do so many different things than anything I've ever played. The game, I mean, you can explore. It's just so much to do, but a month isn't enough time, or even to be a make isn't enough time to explore all the different areas there is in this game.
I've known people that have been training for 14 years and they still haven't learned everything in the game or more.
Nope, nobody has.
No.
A guy did he had thousands of real world dollars and he bought skill injectors and injected every skill. It was the equivalent of what, 29 years?
Wow.
Yeah.
All
Tell
right.
him how many skill points you've got, Olma.
Most of my characters are around the 300 billion part. I got one that's at 370.
Did you say 300 billion?
Million.
300 million.
370 million.
370 million. Damn.
And all of my mains have at least 250 million.
See, my main has like 32 million skill points, but I've
So,
a lot.
what I want to see, there's a couple things I'd like to say. I'd like to go up one more level in skills, like to a level 6 skill. It would change every way everybody plays because you would have people that could focus on speed, which you couldn't catch, or people that could focus on firepower or shielding. So you never know what you would come up with, and have them all be level 20 skills or something like that, where it takes months to train. So you have to pick a path.
Yeah.
They kind of did that to industry. With
Yeah.
industry, they broke industry into silos. And we know that the reason they did it was so they could tax each of the transactions and use that as a disk sink. But by breaking it up into all those little subsections, it caused people to focus. Do you want to build battleships or do you want to build Tech 2? Because those are different paths. And they haven't done anything similar with PvP.
Tattoos with like planetary infrastructure, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
you
you
got
need
all
a
those
lot of planetary
yeah.
infrastructure in order to
Yep.
get that going, as well as battleships. You need capital parts, which require Tech 2 components as well too. So.
And alphas can't even do PI. So they can't even learn it to find out one of the elements of the game that they're most likely to use as a NISC source.
Right. So
I
for
have one character that's 335 million skill points, and all he does is industry.
nice. All right. So as far as I remember, they used to give free ships when you completed missions and story arcs and stuff like that. Do they still do that?
There was a big uproar about the free ships thing. Is CCP competing directly with the players because it's the player base that builds and creates the market. So yes, they still give free ships with the training missions, but there are no free ships with the missions in system.
Okay, so they replaced that system with faction warfare as well as loyalty points, right? For
Yeah.
Yes, with loyalty points you can get shipped.
all right. So, what interesting mechanics do you guys think have recently been coming about in Eve Online?
Oh, you want the worst one or?
Okay, let's start with the worst one and then the best one.
So the worst thing they came up with was the ESS in nullsec. The idea that you're out ratting and you're earning money, but half of it goes into a bank that somebody else can rob. Or if you rob it yourself, you lose 30% of it. Then you fly to the place where this special bank is, and the area inside of it is a 75-kilometer bubble, so your warp drives and things don't work. It can only be entered by certain classes of ships, and it takes 6.5 minutes to get your money out of the bank. The idea was to increase PvP because they made it highly visible. You can go to the agency and see exactly what banks are nearby and how much money is in them. So, on one hand, that part was successful. On the other hand, outside of the ESS, they created a dead space zone where if you can get there and just move more than 100 or so meters or kilometers away from the ESS, you're untouchable. It's a get out of jail free card. So anybody that filaments into your system and goes, "Oh, I went to the wrong place. I shouldn't be here," all they got to do is go to the ESS and start motivating away from it until they're out and away from you, because you can't work to them. Even if one of your guys gets to them, you can't work to your guy. So it's a bad mechanic. The inside
Gotcha.
part, not so much. It's okay.
Alright, so what's the best mechanic you've seen so far?
They listened to us when they were putting in compression for mining.
Oh, yes, I love compression. I'm starting to
But when they
really
were
like the manager too.
but when they were first going to put it in, they were going to make it to where it had to be done inside the Orca by the Orca pilot, that it would take over a minute per cycle, and you were putting it into a cargo hold that only held 10,000 M3s. So basically, two coveters could overload the compression unit. So I did the math on it and sent them an email and said, "You realize that a standard moon belt would take 44 hours to compress?" And they said, "Oh, maybe we should do this differently." And we gave them some suggestions. They accepted most of them, but not all of them. And the compression we have today was the end result of that discussion.
See, I love when companies can discuss things with other players. There are so many companies that I've seen that just clam up when you give them any sort of criticism, or any other times they'll ban you for trying to suggest something to make a game a better place, you know? So, that's one thing I like about Eve. I'm not a fanboy by any means, but uh, it's like one of those things. It's nice to have a company that hears you, you know?
They did a similar thing when they put the Triglavians in, that rather than make their programmers learn how to deal with all the legacy code, they said, "We'll invent something new." So they did. But it was pretty one sided. So then they tried to come up with Edencom. Well, it was a knee jerk, half baked response, and Edencom wasn't successful.
Just like Dust 514. That game was a great concept and idea, but it just fell apart for them at some point, and they shut it down. I missed that game though.
So what they've done in the last 2 years now is they've put all of their serious effort into faction warfare. I don't know whether faction warfare is good or bad. I don't do it, but they're focusing their efforts, which makes things somewhat better, and they're listening to the feedback they get.
All right.
My worst thing they ever did was take the ore out of nullsec so you can't build down here.
Oh God, that
Oh yeah, I hated that as well.
and
I
they
mean,
said it. They made the mistake of saying it out loud in a broadcast that people having to move around to get their materials would provide more targets for PvP. But the
Right.
targets are haulers. I can't get Noxium unless I send somebody to LowSec to get it or go send it to a marketplace to get it. The other thing they did in that same line of thinking, they honestly believed that people would form up fleets to go mine somebody else's space without thinking about the ramifications of all the logistics that would be involved.
Gotcha.
And to that end, they started moving the ice belts so that a system that used to have a permanent ice belt no longer had a permanent ice belt. The ice belt could show up anywhere. And then it would show up on the agency. Oh, there's an ice belt in this system right here. And click this button for set destination. They honestly believed that fleets would go mine the ice and then somehow find their way back to their home space to use their fixed structures to process it. Yeah, they've come up with some really dumb ideas. But again, they've listened in some cases and they put the ice belts back.
All right. So this is where we come to our news segment. Anybody have any news from CCP or the in-game world about any political moves, alliances shifting, any strange
All they
things?
came out and said was that they're going to change NOSAC, and nobody wants to do anything right now.
Yes, I heard that. That's
We're petrified. We're scared to death. Are they going to take everything away from us? What are they going to do?
Are they going
Right.
to change SOV?
God, they've done that so many times.
all right.
And nobody knows what's going to happen. So, do you want to take over space and make it your own? Or does that work against you when the changes come out?
All right. How long will you be able to hold this space with being invulnerable or without being able to be attacked? Like, there's so many questions around the mechanics that we'll have to explore, and I'm sure it'll be abused at some point because pirate gangs out there, they're uh, they're really smart. They have to be, in order to survive the way they do. So.
And every time CCP says, we want to improve small groups, we want to improve small organizations' gameplay. And every single time it only benefits mega alliances.
Right.
Well, my opinion would be to make it so that the more a group did in a certain system, small groups like under 500, they should get a bonus. Like if you're gonna have a group of 100 people mining and ratting, they should get. It should have a plug-in in the iHub or something that they could get better belts, or they get more defense, or something, so that a group of 100 can't come in and just boom, you're dead. You just spent 40 billion on building everything, and somebody comes in and kills it all in a weekend because they have 100 more people, or they get 6 alliances together to kill you.
So they did do that with military indexes and stuff like that. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the ADM.
So
all that does is make it longer for you to take over the iHub. So if they have 50 more people in you, they can sit there and toast every one of your systems, and there's nothing you can do about it, or shoot your stations. They keep making the stations easier to blow up, so young, small alliances can't get a foothold.
Alright. Alright, and for our last part of this segment, do you guys have anything you want to plug in, like your corporations, your alliances, anything else?
Absolutely. So, we are currently recruiting. Yes, we recruit players. And yes, we work individually with players. What we're hoping to do is bring corporations out of high-sec and into null and learn a different game. They're going to find out that it's more enjoyable. They're going to find out that there's money to be made and that it's not as big and scary as they think it is. That it's actually safer in some places in nullsec because you can see your enemy coming and you can't in high sec. So our biggest recruiting pitch right now is if you're in high sec and you're in a small corp and you enjoy mining or you enjoy exploration or you enjoy doing missions, join a nullsec alliance and come on down. And if we would recommend one, we would recommend IRC, of course. But that's our latest pitch is get out of high sec, come on down and play the game.
All right, old Ma, do you have anything you want to plug in at this time?
Oh no, he said it just as eloquently as anybody could say it. This game has a lot to offer, and we'd like everybody to experience it all.
All right, perfect. All right, that comes to the conclusion of our podcast. Do you guys
Oh,
have
but
any?
you missed something.
Oh, what's that?
Is your podcast a broadcast where people can see things,
What do
or
you
is it
mean?
just verb? Is it just words?
So we have a. Let me stop recording real quick. All right.